Hi, everybody. Welcome to Discover the Duncan Difference podcast. Today, I'm at our partner agency, L. Calvin Jones, and I have Mercy here with us. It is going to be a really fun and interesting conversation. Mercy deals with cyber risk mostly, and so she is an expert in her field, and she has a ton of information. So, to get started, Mercy, just tell me a little bit about yourself, personally and in business.
Oh, okay. I'm married, don't have any children, husband and a cat. That's enough. We laugh about it because we've been married for 31 years and I've never cooked a
Wow.
meal.
Oh my gosh,
I don't
seriously?
cook.
Wow.
My husband does all the cooking and the grocery shopping, so I keep him for that reason.
It's a good reason.
Yeah, it's a real good reason. I've been in the business for a lot of years, as you can tell by these gray hairs. Since I don't have kids, you know where those gray hairs came from.
Yeah.
They came from insurance.
Oh, yeah.
And I have been in the commercial end of insurance now for probably 30 years.
Wow.
And I came to L. Calvin Jones after I'd sold my own agency.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay.
I
How long did you have your own agency?
Almost 20 years.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
So I came here after the agency was sold, and I knew all of the people here, and they had always said, if you ever want to come here. And I walked in the door and they said, take the office at the back. And I did, and I've been here now for 11 years. And
that's so great. So what made you want to sell your business and start here?
There were some medical issues with my partner's wife, so we sold it to a bank actually, and it didn't work out well for us. So I needed to move somewhere else.
Yeah.
So this is where I came.
I love that. Okay, and you are in commercial insurance with your expertise is in cyber risk. What got you into cyber risk?
Fell into it, just like I fell into insurance. I'm not a computer person. I never learned Word or Excel.
Yeah.
I always had staff that did that. So I never learned any of that. And I got a call one day from a woman whose husband owned a tool and die shop. And she said, we've got a problem here. The insurance company turned a claim down and we don't know why. I went out and I had heard cyber, in the background for years. And I heard the claim and I said, I know what it is.
Yeah.
I know what the problem is, and I'll get you a quote. Well, what had happened is her daughter was an addict and she had sold the password to the system for drugs or whatever. And the people she sold it to knew that her family was doing work for the Department of Defense on some items, and they wiped the system out. When they did that, of course, they had to report it, and they lost their business.
Oh,
so it was kind of my interest into it. Jim here then said to me, look, you should explore all this and you can be our expert. And I said, okay, I don't like computers, but I'll do it.
So, yeah.
And it started to get fascinating, and I started to do lunch and learns for the clients, and I started to take courses, and I'm the only person, I believe, in the state of Ohio with the CCIS designation. I've got 4 designations in cyber now, and I'm going to teach 600 insurance agents this year about cyber coverage all around the United States.
That is really amazing. So your passion is not only that's the cyber risk, but also teaching
it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so great, because it's something that people really need to know and understand, especially as an insurance agent. You really need to make sure that you're taking care of your clients. And there's a lot of layers to it.
There's a lot of layers to it. There's a lot of way of doing it, and you need to know how to figure out what you need to use for your clients.
Yes,
because there's several different ways to do it. So it's been interesting, and I enjoy teaching it, and people want to learn. That's the important part.
Yes, I love. My next question is, what do you think that commercial, like, business owners don't understand about cyber? Do you, and my, I guess 2 parts to that question is, do you think that they really understand it all? Most business owners, do you think they understand their risk there?
I don't think they understand it at all. I think a lot of them still think that it's embedded in their general liability insurance or somewhere in their policies. And some of them might have a policy that has a little bitty, what they call a data coverage in it that might be for $25,000 or $50,000. We're selling minimum here at $1 million, some as much as 10 million for people, because there's such an exposure. If you're working with any kind of medical records or any kind of massive amounts of people's information. We have to get into much higher levels.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I guess try explain to me, like I'm in kindergarten and I have no idea when you go in to maybe a new client or you're looking over somebody who is a prospect, what are you looking for? What are you making sure that they're covered for, and just in general, but maybe you can be specific about like in different industries?
In most of the industries, and I'm going to say in our area here, so I'm talking the Mahoning Valley where we are. Most of our industries are small. We call them the small to medium businesses. They're under $100 million of sales. Unless you're in education or in healthcare, it's kind of rare that someone would ransom you because they don't think there's enough money in it.
Yeah.
But what we're finding is people are getting a lot of business email compromised trying to get into their banking accounts.
Yeah.
And
they're getting good at that.
Oh,
they
real
really
good.
are.
They're real good. And it happens here in the Valley every day, several times a day. My talking with cyber experts, the security people are telling me where the breaches are happening, and it's all in the business email, and it's all the crime section. How much money can you afford to lose? If somebody gets into your system, how much can you lose? And that frightens people a lot more than ransomware does. And unfortunately, you have to almost frighten people to get them to understand that they need this coverage. And so when I go in, I just say, look, here's what happened yesterday to one of the clients. And they go, uh-oh, can that happen to me? Yeah, it can, real easy. Human beings let things happen. I don't care how much security you have.
Right.
One simple person in your office opening the wrong email and you could be doomed. So
exactly. And I think that's and like we just said, they're really getting good at it, because it used to be when you'd get those emails, it was very obvious that it was from somebody who was outside the organization, and they're getting so good at their almost like spoofing emails. They make it really look like it's coming from somebody who needs, it's crazy.
We had one spoofed by one of our tool and die stores. Tool, of course, is in the name. And they just took the website and made it TOO1, which most people wouldn't realize it was a one instead of an L. And they had gotten into the system. There was only 2 computers.
Wow.
They got in and they read everything in the system. So they sent the largest client out an email, and it looked so real. It was like, hey John, it's Gary, we've really had a terrible time with such and such a bank, so we've moved everything somewhere else. We moved our mortgage, we moved this, we moved that. So when you pay us the $141,000 this month, send it to this new bank instead, and this is the information. And they did. They never even questioned.
Right, because it looked real.
It looked real.
Looked like it was coming from those people.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So my client didn't get his $141,000, and his client had it stolen. Right. So this happens all the time.
And that is so much money.
It's a lot of money.
And then even so for some businesses, that over $100,000 would be devastating, but even $10,000 or $15,000 could easily be devastating to a business.
Sometimes what they like to do is take a holiday weekend, like Memorial Day.
Yeah.
They'll get in at the beginning of the month and just sit there. And Friday night, before Memorial Day, after 5 o'clock, they'll breach the system, get the money out of the bank, and then you won't be back until Tuesday.
Yeah.
By then, the bank is no longer responsible because it's been over 72 hours, and that money is long gone.
It's over. Wow. Yeah. And so if you have the right insurance, you'll be covered for something like that.
You can be covered for something like that under a cyber policy, under the crime portion of the cyber risk policy.
Okay. Yeah. And I think that if people think that they're in certain industries, so they are immune from it almost, or that's something they don't have to worry about. Maybe their stuff isn't.
I don't know anybody that's immune from somebody trying to do business email fraud.
Yes. And I know I saw one of where you were talking on one of a panel, and you said, if you have a bank account, you're at risk.
Yeah.
Because I think people think, oh, well, I don't really deal with money, or, we don't have to worry about that. But if you have a bank account and you have a business email, you are at risk.
You're absolutely risk. And they'll get in and they'll try everything they can to get at that money. And they're good at it. And it's quick.
Yeah.
They don't have to do ransoms where they might be waiting for weeks for the money to
Right.
come and be sending it through and somebody catching them. They're gone before you even know it.
Yeah. Like you
So,
said, yeah, if they do it on a Friday before a holiday weekend,
yep,
it's
it's
in and
over.
out. Yeah. They already, and like you said before as well, it only just takes one employee clicking on the wrong
Yep,
email, sending an invoice, not thinking about it. And when
yep.
you think about your company, you're like, well, I would never do that. But you really have to know that your employees can make mistakes. Everyone's
I
human.
sent an email to the wrong person last
Yeah.
week, and I thought, oh my God, I just breached that. And I went to them right away and said, throw all that away. Oh yeah, we knew it wasn't for us. No big deal. But that's happened before,
Right.
lots of times.
Yes, it totally happens.
Information goes out, and
You're like, ooh,
yep,
yep.
I made a mistake.
Yes, people make mistakes. Or
do.
you know what, you're so overwhelmed in your day that you don't even really realize that what you're clicking on. You're just going through your emails and you're clicking, or you're clicking, you just send, a payment because you're like, well, I'm overwhelmed.
Yep.
And so it's very easy how that can happen.
Easy.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me what your favorite thing, what do you enjoy about cyber risk and commercial insurance, working with your clients? What's your favorite part?
I like meeting people.
Yeah.
I'm a people person.
Yeah.
So meeting people and going out and talking with them, even the people I don't end up having as clients. I just like going out and meeting people.
I love that.
So you get to go out and you're meeting a different, and I don't mean this to be wrong, you're meeting a different kind of person on a commercial, when you're doing commercial insurance than personal insurance. Yeah. You're meeting people that have a business and it concerns them 24 hours a day. This is their life, and this is what you've got to protect for them. And they know that. Do they like paying the money? No.
Nope. I'll tell you, as a business owner, it's the worst.
No, is my premium due again?
Yeah, are you sure? I just feel like I just paid it.
Yeah. I swear we just did this.
Yes.
But yeah, I like going out and seeing the clients the most of all, and the renewals. I have clients that I've had for 30 years.
Wow, that's
that are
amazing.
Still around. Yeah,
yes.
That I go out and see, and they somehow become kind of friends. We don't socialize, but they're the kind of people.
Forward to,
you look forward to them, and they'll call me at home at night on my cell phone. I'm sorry to call you about this, but we did do this, and did we do that? And,
yes. Yeah. Don't worry, we did. Yeah. Yeah. Also, I think what's awesome about business owners is just so interesting to get to know their business as well.
Oh, yeah.
Like there's so many different types of businesses, so many different ways to do business, even if you're in the same industry, like how people operate can be so different. So I find that fascinating as well.
It is. It's fun to go out and walk into a business you've never been in that kind of a business before and think, oh my, can I even understand what they do? Yes. But people will explain to you if you ask them and say, look, tell me about the business. How does this work? They love to take you through their plans.
Yes.
And they love to show you around things. And people have pride. And so with that pride, they want you to see everything.
Yeah. And I feel that way, like with my business, like I will just talk about it all day. Somebody asks me how it works and what I think that's so much fun. And I love hearing it from other people. So I get why you would love that, because it's really fascinating. And it's fun. And like you said, they're passionate about it. When you're a business owner, it's your whole entire life. If you have a family, it's what supports your family. You've got your employees and you have to take care of them. And it truly is. It's so much pressure.
And it's interesting too, because they realize that they've got these responsibilities. And if something happens to that business, how many families are going to be affected?
Yes.
And with this latest big breach, this change, as they called it, breach in the healthcare system, 33,000 physicians, hospitals, and pharmacies got affected by this. A lot of small pharmacies went out of business or going out of business. A lot of doctors had to borrow money. And we had 2 claims here at the office.
Okay.
One didn't end up actually costing any money because it got handled very easily, and he didn't really want to turn in a claim for the small amount. The other one is still pending, even though change is pretty much back up in business now. Their situation was in this change, it was a supply chain situation where my client really wasn't breached. My client had perfectly good computer system they could work on. They just couldn't upload the claims to get paid because they had been breached out in California. So that was the issue with all of these people.
Mm-hmm.
Many of them had no insurance at all.
Oh,
Many of them didn't have that kind of coverage.
right.
My client did, and it's probably going to end up being $50,000 to $100,000 claim.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, just for the downtime that they had
Mm-hmm.
and the loss of clients,
Yeah.
because
People
they
need
had
their stuff, so they have to go somewhere
absolutely,
else.
they went somewhere else, and then try and get
Wow.
them back. That's hard.
Yeah. Oh,
That's real hard.
absolutely. Yeah. Wow, that's
60% of the
fascinating.
people, 60% of the people that are involved in a breach
Mm-hmm.
with someone like a hospital or doctor will not go back to them again.
Wow.
They
That's
go
a lot.
somewhere else. That's a lot. It is a
Yeah.
lot.
And like
Mhm.
you said, it would be hard to get them back as well, because once you switch and you gotta switch all over
Oh,
your
yeah.
insurance, it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm not gonna do that again.
Yeah. That's hard.
Wow.
So we haven't had a lot of claims. That breach was an interesting one. There's
Mm-hmm.
been several of the ones where I got called in in a local business. One of the managed service providers that I insured called me and said, this guy needs coverage. He's had a claim. So I went
Mm.
out, and he had one of those claims where he was the victim of the letter that said send it to this other address, and they
Yeah.
did.
Oh
And
no.
luckily, most of it got recovered. They caught it fast enough that it was recovered.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a situation where I went in after the fact and had to say, okay, this is what you should have had. This is what you
Yes.
need now.
Yeah. Let's not let
So
that happen again.
yeah, if
Yep.
it happens, you will have the coverage now. So
Yes.
yeah, we have a lot of clients here at the office that have. We have some medical records people
Mm-hmm.
that it takes $10 million of coverage for them because they're
Yeah.
doing so many medical records.
Right.
And we have a lot of small businesses that just need the coverage for the crime coverage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
And we
Right. That's
write
huge.
a lot of those.
Yeah.
We do.
And so with my business, I'm in retail, and I remember my uncle walking me through that. And if he hadn't walked me through that just the same way that you walk your clients through that, I would have never known that I needed that extra coverage.
Oh yeah.
And some insurance agents would have just let me go with the general and not gone.
Well, a lot of insurance agents really don't want to get involved in this.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot of education. It takes a lot of keeping up. I was
Yeah.
just before you got here, I was on a half-hour podcast about deep fakes
Oh wow.
and what's happening now and what's
Yes.
coming,
Yes.
and AI and how much it's
Yes.
going to affect everything. And it's a lot to keep up with.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And
Like you said, I mean, you got to be constantly learning and constantly keeping up with that.
constantly.
And especially with AI, I mean, I can't even imagine now where that is just very quickly growing. You've got people, you can fake videos of people
Oh,
now, and you can
absolutely.
fake so much. So that's scary.
And it's scary.
Yeah.
It is scary, especially in an election year. You don't know
Yes.
what's being said that's true or false.
Exactly.
And it's very difficult out there to keep up. I have Google alerts set for data breaches or
Mhm.
cyber risk, and I must get 30 or 40 Google alerts a day of
Wow.
stories around the world that are popping.
Yep. That are big.
Yeah.
Big deals. Big
Yeah.
enough to be in a Google or
Yeah.
wow.
And so I'm hearing all kinds of different things. Some of them are duplicates,
Mhm.
and they go around. I mean, it's changing constantly. It isn't what it was when I started doing this 7 years ago.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I can't imagine how much it's evolved in just those 7 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's going to evolve more. It will be by 2030, according to what the analysts say. Cyber insurance will be the biggest, I guess I'm going to say, peril that we will be insuring against. It will be more than
Wow.
property insurance.
Wow.
So we'll be paying
But
more
that
for
makes
cyber.
sense now with AI and all the things that are
Mhm.
coming out and the way the technology has changed. It makes sense
Yeah.
because it's getting easier and easier for
is.
them, and they're getting
It
better
is.
and better at it.
Yeah.
You know.
And we can't keep up with them. To be
Yeah,
very
I think you would
honest,
think that we would be getting better at keeping up with them, but they're just
we
getting so
aren't.
good.
We
Because
aren't.
even people that are in my generation, I mean, we click on things that we shouldn't click on, and like we should be tech savvy enough to be able to tell,
But it's human nature to want to know something. If you
Yeah.
see something pop up, you go, ooh, what's that? Bang.
Yep.
And next thing you know, you've gotten yourself into a mess. Or
Yeah.
my husband, bless his heart, who is a bit older than me, will call me and say, we got this note from American Express. And I said, no, I don't think so. And he says, well, how do you know? And I said, is everything spelled correctly?
Yeah.
And that's the way it
That's
used to
bigger.
be. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that was the way you could tell it. Nowadays, I
Yes.
just tell them, don't open anything you don't absolutely know is,
Is real.
yeah, is
Yeah.
real.
Yep.
Just leave the rest and I'll figure it out when I get
Mm-hmm.
home. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's,
And there's so many different ways. Like, so we talked about the invoices, like the
mhm.
faking the invoices and stuff. And I know even one of our coworkers, she had gotten an email from one of another employee. It looked like it was from him,
Sure.
and saying that he like wanted to change his benefits and
Oh,
all that.
absolutely.
And had she not looked closely at that email, like, because the way that it was phrased didn't sound like him, and if she hadn't like looked closely, she had been in a rush or had been doing other things, maybe multitasking, I mean, she could have that could
She
have been
could have given
devastating.
out information that she really
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to give out. Yeah.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
and that does happen quite a bit too. It's our nature as human beings to
Mm-hmm.
want to be helpful
Yeah.
and try to get things done, and we're
Yes.
speedy and
Yep.
we're answering things, and everything you get anymore you've got to look at with a jaundiced eye and say, is this
Yes.
real?
Yep. And I
Okay.
guess also another thing that's important is kind of employee training. Do you work on that at all with clients?
We have, and Duncan does,
Yes.
several different companies that we recommend that
Mm-hmm.
will do the security training for the employees, the
Yes.
videos and the phishing simulations,
Yes.
so that people get those, and that's good. That's going to
Mm-hmm.
be, I think, within the next couple of years, that's going to be mandatory to get cyber insurance. Is that your
Has to go through
employees are
that.
getting trained? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's going to be something else that's mandatory right now. Multi-factor authentication is mandatory.
Yes.
And if you heard anything about that change um, claim that they had, they admitted that it got in because somebody didn't have multi-factor authentication, and
Wow.
that's how they got in. And
Wow.
it's going to cost them billions of dollars.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's
That is just like
insane.
actually crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
How
it will.
something so small can
Yep,
cause that chain of reaction and that much
absolutely.
money. I mean,
Yep.
wow. And I think that just goes to show right there how much you need cyber insurance and how much you need to be
Absolutely.
paying attention to what kind you have and make sure that your insurance agent is talking you through everything. And I think the other thing too about getting to know their business is really understanding all of that risk,
Yeah, you know what risk they have.
Mm-hmm.
Once you look at their business, you'll know if their risk is from personal information or
Yeah.
if it's from money, or what they are doing. Are they technically doing something like developing websites,
Mm-hmm.
things of that nature? And the other thing that's real important right now, Em, is personal cyber insurance. You
Mm.
can buy personal cyber insurance for your home now. And if
Yes.
you've got children, especially
Yes.
teenage children who tend to get nasty with each other on the phone, or adults doing revenge porn,
Yeah.
there's coverage for that under
Oh,
some of the
wow.
policies. And there's coverage for mental health care if you've been
Wow.
bullied, which I think is fascinating.
Me
And it's
too.
very cheap.
Wow.
So,
And it's funny that you say that, because I know Tyler Harkins, who works in our personal lines department at Duncan. He always recommends that people get that personal cyber
yeah,
insurance.
it's
Just add it on
because
it's not expensive and it just makes
or
sense.
you can buy a separate policy. If you're
Mm-hmm.
somebody that's got a lot of wealth, you'd want it on a separate policy because you want bigger limits.
Yeah.
But somebody gets into your computer system, gets into your Schwab account at home,
Yeah.
and can take all that money, get your
Yes.
personal banking information.
Yes.
And when you see people at the grocery store who've got their phones and they're looking at their refrigerator at
Mm-hmm.
home, and
Mm-hmm.
it's all connected.
Yep.
And if I can break into your refrigerator at home, I can get to your cell phone and then get to your things in your computer.
Exactly.
It's crazy, this
And
internet
most
of thing.
people at home really don't have as thick of a security
no,
layer on their technology as like at work. It's kind of required,
Sure.
and you have
And
an
you've got
IT.
kids getting
Right,
in
getting
and
into all kinds of stuff. Yes.
So you can't
And so
tell.
young too. Now people, I think that kids are on the internet and phones and computers at such a young age where they have literally no idea the consequences of anything they're doing, which is another story. But I don't think they have any idea the consequences of that security at all.
No, and there were discussions this morning about the fact that younger people are so attuned now to putting everything online.
Oh, everything. Their whole life.
Yeah, their whole life is online. And one of these days they're going to realize that was not a good thing.
Yes.
Because people have information that they really didn't want them to have.
Exactly. They know where they're at. They know their daily routines. Yep. They know where they live. I mean, it gets very scary when you're putting out that much information.
the riots, I guess I wouldn't want to call them riots, the sit-ins or whatever that are happening at the universities, they were discussing the fact that all of these students have masks on. And there's a reason. They don't want to be seen because they are taking pictures of all of them and using facial identification to figure out who they are.
Oh,
and it could affect them in the future for their jobs.
For sure. Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Yeah, everything is really scary out there anymore.
It is. And you really have to think about that, especially as a business owner. It's so important because like we said, it is, that's their entire life. That's their, that's their bread and butter and their employees and all of that. So yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So Mercy, if somebody was watching this and they were thinking about becoming a client with L. Calvin Jones or Duncan Financial, what would you say to them?
Well, we have the best of all the worlds here.
Yes.
We have finance people that can do all of the money work. We have personal lines people. We have wonderful commercial people. We have just about everything that they can want all in one package.
Yes.
Some of the best trained agents that you would want to find, most of them have a lot of designations after their names because they specialize in certain areas. And there aren't too many things we can't help you with.
Yeah, exactly. We've got it all, basically.
We've got it all.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mercy. This has been so much fun. I appreciate you. And thank you all for watching Discover the Duncan Difference. We drop every Monday, 8 a.m. Wherever you find your podcasts, and we will see you guys soon.